Welcome back, Alpha Hunters. Hope everybody is having a very wonderful Hump Day Wednesday because the market is very hump-like, I guess. It had a nice little hump this morning from a gap up here. How much did we gap up here? It wasn't a crazy gap, but about a 0.2% gap up, not quite. Nice little hump there. Hump Day Wednesday rolled over. Uh, we held it for about 30 minutes, 30, 45 minutes, and then we had a nice little breakdown here that was about 2.5 hours. Traded down, obviously, the lows of the day were about an hour and a half ago, hour 15 minutes ago. And then look at the run we went on. It looks like a Bronchosaurus neck, man. Just nice trend there on the SPY. And we'll see what happens. I mean, this is from the morning breakdown. We never really retested into the opening area. We just kind of like broke down and just went. So maybe this is the retest into that area, and maybe we're going to start to see the market breakdown here in the next last 2 hours of the day. I could go either way. Yeah, I could go either way, bullish or bearish. But I do like the retest and probably just seeing if we can get a little bit of a bearishness down, maybe below 505 or something like that. I can dig that. Anyways, SPY, positive 0.1% currently. Q's had a nice gap up here. Check this sucker out. Nice 0.7% of a gap up there. Nice gap up. It pulled down. It got negative. It was negative for about an hour. Not the whole hour. Just kind of bounced around that zero line. And it went on that run over the past hour and 15 minutes. But you know the stark difference between this sell down and this buy compared to the SPY, right? I mean, this sell down and this buy, SPY's basically kind of back to its open. Q's not quite. So, are people selling off tech as tech has kind of ripped it the 2 previous days and a nice gap up today? Yeah. I mean, that's very likely. Very likely. IWM, a little bit of a gap down, nice sideways action here for about 50 minutes or so, and then it broke down here. Nice little basing action here, and then nice little run here over the past hour and a half. All right, we'll see what happens with IWM. IWM currently down 0.4%. Nice gap down here on the DIA. Rolled over, spent most of the day negative, well, until about maybe 20 minutes ago, it actually got positive. Like this, like triple bottom, kind of like a inverted head and shoulders. We get a shoulder, neckline, head, neckline, kind of a funky neckline play there, and then neckline or shoulder, right shoulder, kind of at the previous shoulder spot, and then boom, broke higher. So kind of a weird one here, but yeah, very much inverted head and shoulders action there. Currently up to the high of the day, so we're seeing some pretty good buy action there in the DIA. Also the RSP, so we're seeing a pretty good broadening out, which makes sense. We saw the SPY doing pretty good. It's a lot better than the Qs, especially with the rally here over the past a little bit over an hour. And the RSP seems like it got a lot of that. So nice gap down here, traded positive, hung out for about 30 minutes, broke down. Continued to have a little bit of a breakdown, but the past hour and 15 minutes looking pretty strong there. Okay. So RSP, I think I still like the interest in being bearish in this area. Yeah. Other than that, I think I dig trying to be bearish here. That's about it. That's about it. The DIA. What's interesting here is we did have a nice strong retest down to that 10 EMA today, and it came all the way back and popped and is currently positive. So this looks kind of intriguing to maybe even be bullish here. I would say if you're not playing the DIA, you can have a pretty solid. You could bracket this, right? Really, the highs over the past Tuesday and Wednesday, and then the lows of Tuesday and Wednesday, and you could just bracket those. It played either way. Breaks higher, bullish. Breaks down, go bearish. Anyways, not a bad idea there. I do like this spot to be bearish, and you can tell that we're having a hard time getting through these, previous support levels, now resistance levels. So we'll just have to see how that plays. IWM, yeah, kind of mentioned yesterday, this 20 EMA coming down. I kind of like that bearish idea there. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these maybe continue higher, even into tomorrow. and then we start to see some rollover action in some of the market areas like ETFs, especially the Qs as we go into big tech earnings, big tech earnings tomorrow after the bell. Qs, yeah. So speaking on that, you can see some pretty good bullishness. Qs got hit pretty hard last week, so let's just see how much they did drop off last week. Where is my thing? Fib retracement. So we have pulled back a little bit over 50%, or we got a little bit over 50% of a pullback this morning. Not quite to that 61.8 area, but that would be a pretty good spot to be bearish, especially with those 20 and 50 EMAs there. So, I mean, the fact that it's pulled back that much for last week's breakdown, yeah, I mean, that would look pretty good, you know, to start dipping in bearish there on the Qs. So, I like it. I like it. SPY, I also kind of like starting to dip in bearish here as well again. Yeah, I just like it, man. It's I mean, we've had a nice bounce off of the breakdown that we had last week, so to me it just kind of makes sense to start dipping your toes into being bearish, especially if we start to see some rollover action, some bearish action as we go into the second half of tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon. By the time we probably get on a live stream, I would expect to start seeing some bearish activity. We've ran pretty good for this week so far, and I would expect some bearish activity to kind of creep in. And not saying that we wouldn't be bullish on Friday, but you know that would just kind of depend on Microsoft and Alphabet. If we do see those guys crush numbers, you know, show that they are increasing revenue and growth from AI type sources, then Friday might be a pretty good day. But I think as for now, I think a lot of people are going to take the opportunity to probably close out on the bullish activity that we've seen already this week, especially from last week's breakdown, and make those companies kind of prove it to you. Other than that, that's kind of my thoughts there on the market generally. VIX kind of hanging out today. Market's hanging out, VIX hanging out. All right, not too much going on. So this is kind of looking interesting now. So we're getting that bounce now off that 10 EMA. Still could pull back more, but we are starting to see here on the DXY. Trying to grab the brush and talk at the same time. It's not working. Got a little bit of a flag pattern kind of forming here. So obviously we have this support right here. And if we break that, I would just expect us to come down to this level. You know, we'll probably just come down. Obviously we'll have the 20 EMA there, but I mean maybe that holds us up. Who knows? But I would probably be more willing to take that off these two tops, especially if we got back down there. Now, the interesting thing would be is what happens if we just continue higher. That would be the flag pattern that you kind of have here, which that is about how long flag patterns would typically have. You kind of just wait for the moving averages to kind of come up as you form that flag pattern, and boom, the moving averages come up, and it continues. So we'll see what it looks like here the next day or two. GLD starting to just hang out, not really do a whole lot. All right, basically flat for the day. Yep, looking pretty good. Yields, man. I love yields. Yields are my favorite. Yields. 10-year yield. Got that bounce off that 10 EMA yesterday. Yeah, nice bounce here off the 10 EMA. And, you know, one thing you'll notice here is we do have that evening star reversal, morning star reversal right here. We got that red candle, doji, bouncing off that 10 EMA as it's coming up there, and the bullish engulfing over that red candle from 2 days ago. So that looks pretty good. And this is kind of the scenario that we talked about at the end of last week. Like, hey, if we just consolidate here for the first half of this week, or maybe even the whole week, look for, you know, the end of this week or the end of April, like next week, beginning part of May, to be really strong on yields. Guys, if I saw that on a stock chart, I would be a lot more willing to play that bullish. That looks pretty strong. So yeah, it looks pretty good there on yield side. Let's take a look how are the 30-year. Yeah, look at that 30-year. I mean, we kind of talked about the other thing yesterday was the 10-year actually looked more bearish than the 30-year and the 2-year. So we'll take a look at the 2-year. But I mean, look at that consolidation we got on that 30-year past couple of days. Nice break higher today, looking pretty good there. Here's a look at the 2-year yield, and it's kind of hanging out, sitting right on top of that 10 EMA. It might just be consolidating one more day. We'll see what happens here tomorrow, but it looks okay. It looks okay. I'd say the 10-year looks a little bit stronger than the 2-year today, though. So yeah, that's kind of how the yields look. Ooh, man, we got it, man. We got it. Look at that. Finally broke that high. We got this uptrend, finally breaking higher. So one of two things most likely is going to continue to happen. Either longer term yields are going to continue to go higher, or I'm going to say or the 2-year yields are going to drop off. And I only say that because, well, we're kind of in a scenario where we broke the basing of this 10 and 2 inversion here over the previous couple of months. And, you know, anytime we've done that before, well, we go on a few day run. So, yeah, maybe we will see, you know, longer term yields continue higher. Maybe 2-year doesn't exactly play along. Maybe they trickle up a little bit, but I would expect longer term yields, in my opinion, would probably go higher just because that's the way they kind of set up for now. Anyways, HYG breaking down again. Yep, yesterday was just that big old retest right next to a lot of these lows. So probably expect those HYG just to continue to break down. Here you go. LQD as it retested into the moving averages that are coming down, breaking down again today. And there you go, TLT. So it'll be curious if this plays out like it did before. I'm not going to say before, but a similar time, you know, back over here where we had this breakdown, we bounced back up into that you know, down channel, kind of hung out for a few days, and then we got the breakdown for like a month. So will bond yields go on a kind of like bullish run here on yields, and then we'll see bonds drop off for a month? That'll be interesting, especially here on the TLT. See if we see that happen. All right, taking a look here at sector rotation. You can see that we got a nice gap ups here on discretionaries and tech. Looking pretty good there. So discretionaries are your best outperformer on the day. That's probably going to be led a lot by TSLA, Tesla. They had earnings yesterday. They did. The stock price is doing good. Stock price is doing good. We also got staples doing pretty well. Utilities, tech, real estate. It's kind of interesting seeing real estate on the daily outperformers as well. Yields are higher. We got financials underperforming, energies also underperforming, healthcare, communications, materials, and then industrials, the big lagger on the day. If we take out the gap, let's see how things look. And woo, wow, we've seen some pretty good price action here during the day. So we got utilities, staples, real estate, energies doing pretty good during the day. Financials and materials, healthcare also outperforming there. Tech is in line with the market. And then you got communications, discretionaries, and industrials underperforming there on the day. All right, let's talk about the TSLA guy because, you know, kind of mentioned they had earnings. And, you know, if you were to ask me if I'm shocked that TSLA gapped up to this level and it's thrown a big fat doji for the day, no, I wouldn't be shocked because we talked about that yesterday. I was like, I would probably be more willing to play this bullish over earnings and then sell it after the gap up because it basically gapped a little bit above where I thought it would, or I thought it would be around this 160 level, but it's 2 points over, not a big deal, right? Obviously, if you did take that bearish over earnings, when you're going to close it out on the open, are you going to be complaining that it was 2 points above or 3 points above maybe where you thought your target would be? No, you'd be very happy with that. So yeah, you would close it out. Boom, you see we got a nice pop there, even in the morning, first 30 minutes, and then it just kind of rolled down for a few hours. Nice trend here over the past hour, but I don't really know how much bullishness I would want to be in this name. A big reason why is we have this downtrend line here over the past couple of months, and I mean that's kind of where it's right where it's smacking its head. It's not a bad spot to be bearish. If it consolidates right under this line, I would say, and it doesn't break down, I would just be very mindful of that and say if it does start to like, say kind of like come down but base here sideways and see if it starts to do one of these things, I would not want to be bullish at that point in time. And maybe it does that for like, I don't know, 2 days, a day or two, maybe by the end of the week, something like that. But if we break down here, yeah, I mean, all it does is just retest right into the top end of that channel. And you can kind of take that channel back up to this high as well. So it's not like we have a great change of direction quite yet here on TSLA. It's just one of those where it's got a lot of resistance, still has all these moving averages coming down, and yeah, I mean, as for that, TSLA is probably not one you want to be bullish right here, right now. You're probably looking for more for the bearish play, however you kind of want to set that up. And if you want to wait, I can understand that. I can absolutely understand that. But yeah, I don't know that. TSLA, they didn't do great, right? You see earnings, they missed by about 4% on revenue, and they missed by about 8.5% on bottom line earnings.